The South Carolina Republican passed away last night following a, quote, brief and sudden illness, according to a statement from his office. He was 71 years old. Former President Joe Biden, who served with Graham in Congress for more than a decade, just posted on X saying, in part, quote, we traveled the world together as members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. We disagreed often and sometimes loudly. Lindsey and I did agree on the profound importance of public service. Like me, he loved the Senate as an institution, even with all its flaws and complexities. Lindsey Graham was first elected to the Senate in 2002 after serving 4 terms in the House of Representatives since 1994. He quickly rose as one of the Republican Party's most influential members, serving as chairman of the powerful Senate Budget Committee and a member of the Judiciary, Appropriations, and Environment and Public Works Committees. Graham made a name for himself with his work on foreign policy, known for his hawkish and interventionist approach. He was a strong voice on Iraq and Iran and Russia's war in Ukraine. He frequently traveled to conflict zones, and he had actually just gotten back from a trip to Kyiv where he met with President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday. Graham transitioned from an early critic of Donald Trump to a key advisor. He broke with the president, though, briefly after the January 6th insurrection. Then they rebuilt their alliance. He became a trusted ally. They were frequent golf partners, and definitely a public defender of Donald Trump. Here's the president on Meet the Press this morning.
But he was a fantastic person. He was a man who, you're going to watch, it's going to be a very big thing with him. He's going to be appreciated more now than he was when he was living.
Graham was seeking re-election for his 5th Senate term. South Carolina law mandates that Governor Henry McMaster make an immediate appointment for the remainder of Graham's term, which expires in January. Joining me now is Democratic Senator from New Jersey, Cory Booker. He worked alongside Senator Graham on the Senate Judiciary Committee for many years. Senator, good morning. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
I watched you on Instagram this morning. You said that Lindsey Graham had the ability to get things done that others could not. Talk about what some might see as sort of a strange bedfellows relationship working together in your time in office.
Yeah, look, I came to the Senate with models like Orrin Hatch and Teddy Kennedy, strange bedfellows who got big things done, and I opened the door right away to work with Lindsey Graham on things I thought we could align with, like my mission to end mass incarceration in our country, and found within him an unlikely partner that helped me land some of the biggest wins I've had in the Senate from foreign relations, because we were on the Foreign Relations Committee, when it comes to things like aid to Africa and African countries, all the way to finally getting the First Step Act passed. He's a puzzle to me. I mean, I played football in the Pac-10 and have banged my head and helmet with a lot of people, but I don't think I headbutted anybody as hard as he and I, when we disagreed, fought ferociously. But he was the kind of guy that when the spotlight was off, he'd like, hey, Cory, can we talk? And try to figure out, is there a way to make a deal? Is there a way to get something done amidst all the disagreement? And in that sense, he is somebody that I'm really going to miss in terms of my ability to find battleground with him and fight over the things that mattered, but also still find that common ground.
Yeah, talk more about that, because I remember, this just brings to mind for me in particular the confirmation hearing of Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court, and how vitriolic and I mean the heated nature of the dialogue between the two of you and others in those hearings is hard to forget. What was it like after those hearings ended?
Yeah, I mean, from Kavanaugh to Ketanji Brown Jackson, some of my worst public fights I've had with any senator were with him. But yet, you know, you see him in the hallway the next day and he would smile and come up to me on a different subject entirely and pull me in to say, hey, let's get this done. It was almost like he was sending me a message from the time I got there that we are going to fight like hell, you and I. You're a high-profile guy that's going to fight for what you believe in. I'm going to fight for what I believe in, but we're going to throw a lot of punches at each other. But we should never stop having the door open for us to do something good while we're here. I remember a time I was actually frustrated with the Biden administration. I was talking to Chris Coons about this morning, that he and I couldn't believe the small amount of money for a lot of our global feeding programs, like the World Food Program. Lindsey's on appropriations, so Chris and I went to him and said, this is too low of a number. Can you figure out a way to help us get a lot more into the budget, get it passed. And to his credit, the three of us went to work and got billions more. I mean, literally, I can only imagine that there are tens of thousands of people that survived as a result of that. So it's hard often to hold these things both in your mind, that he had foreign policy positions that I found horrific, but at the same time, by keeping those lines of communication, those doors open, and forging a friendship despite it all, allowed us to find those moments where, God, we really made a difference.
This morning, Senator Booker, President Trump said that Graham's passing was a, quote, big blow to the Save America Act, which is his voter suppression bill, for lack of a better way to put it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a lot of anger towards this president, and I know a lot of private conversations with Lindsey Graham around what he talked to the president about. And so, you know, the president can try to profit off of his passing in any way that he wants. But I know the last bill that he was talking to the president about, which was about Ukraine and sanctioning Russia. I hope we can get that actually done. I know that Lindsey Graham, despite my disappointments with him and his complicity towards the president, I know he was often the guy trying to stop the president from his worst inclinations. So I hope this president doesn't now try to exploit his death in pursuit of his own personal political aims, but instead honor Lindsey Graham by finding those areas in which he was a point of unity or a point of common ground and get those things done.
Well, allow me just to follow up on that. Are you saying that Senator Graham, and I don't expect you to tell me your private conversations, but even in South Carolina, he was first supportive of redistricting that might have cut out Jim Clyburn, but then sort of backed off of that. Are you saying that he wasn't a supporter of the Save America Act?
I don't know about that specifically. I know he knew the facts. If there's anybody that was a political realist, it was him. He knew that bill has no chance in hell of passing the United States Senate. And I will tell you that I know his South Carolina politics. Hell, when he had a race against one of my dear friends, Jamie Harrison, I have never worked so hard to unseat one of my colleagues as I did in supporting Jamie in that race. But I also know that a lot of the people he was running against, and he would tell me very frankly that they, to use his language, they were bat blank crazy. And if I was going to have a Republican out of South Carolina, I would rather have somebody that occasionally we could find common ground and get things done. So Lindsey was a pragmatist. He often showed a crazy side to the world, but then he'd come back to a private conversation and try as hard as hell to make a deal with Democrats.
His sudden death, Senator Graham's sudden death, brings to mind the situation with Senator Mitch McConnell and his health, and also his whereabouts, which are just, frankly, a big question mark right now. Do you know anything about where Mitch McConnell is, and do you think Mitch McConnell should step aside?
I know nothing about where Mitch McConnell is. This is unfortunately just an issue of politics in general. People don't know when to gracefully step aside. I've seen people make that mistake on both sides of the aisle. I've been advised by people who left here, as one senator once told me, leave while you still have a third act. Don't let them carry you off the floor. So again, my thoughts and prayers are really with Mitch McConnell. We'll talk about a guy that I've fought with. I just hope moments like this don't obscure people to our ability to pray for one another, even if we dramatically disagree. But in terms of your practical question right now, there's a lot of people that I think need to know when to go. So we'll see what happens in this case.